Thank you for letting me be part of this virtual town hall to speak with you today. I promise not to take up too much of your time, but I want to tell you a story that I've been thinking about recently. A few years ago, I was driving from Raleigh to D.C. for a vote on the Senate floor the following morning. Unbeknownst to me, there was a blizzard making its way across Virginia that night. Now, if you live south of the Mason-Dixon line, then you know driving in the snow is not one of our most special skills. I was going slow and doing my best to follow the tracks of a car well in front of me. But I hit a patch of ice, and my car skidded for what felt like an eternity, then crashed into an embankment and rolled on its top with a disheartening crunch. Now I was fine, walked away with barely a scratch. But for the moment I hit that ice, to finally come into rest upside down on the side of the road, the whole thing lasted about 8 seconds. And for those few seconds, I thought I might die. I really did. And all the cliches about your life passing before you are true. I thought about my wife and our 2 little boys and my mama. Because for those few seconds, I didn't know if I was going to live or die. I'm sure many of you have had similar experiences. A plane has a rocky takeoff. An elevator bumps and you think it might come crashing to the ground. Or any number of things where for a moment, a fleeting moment, the thought of your own death crosses your mind. Now instead of 8 seconds, imagine what that'd feel like for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 8 minutes and 46 seconds thinking you're going to die, knowing you're going to die. And it's not because of some freak car accident or a plane crash. No. You're going to die because 3 uniformed police officers who have been sworn to protect and serve have decided to let you die, while a 4th officer murders you in broad daylight. And they give you 8 minutes and 46 seconds to think about it. Now I watched that video, like the rest of you, with horror and anguish and grief. And I saw that officer ruthlessly, almost gleefully, kneel on another man's neck, deciding his life is not of value, that he is less than, that he doesn't deserve to breathe anymore. And all I could think was, why? Why did he do that? Why did this officer feel he was allowed to do that? And then I realized the only reason I was angry and upset and lost was because someone happened to take a cell phone video of that officer murdering George Floyd, which forced me to think about all the other incidents where there wasn't a cell phone around, or before video cameras even existed. The countless lives stolen by the hands of privileged white officers, privileged white men and women. Because this was not an isolated incident. This was not a bad apple officer gone rogue. This has happened far too often in our nation's history. And even worse, this is not news to many of you listening. Now, if you're a person of color in this quote-unquote great country of ours, this is something you know all too well, something you've lived and experienced firsthand. But to me, a naive and foolish white man who thought our differences had been solved in 1865, in 1920, and 1965, and 2008, I thought things were getting better. I thought things were okay. I was wrong. I was stupid and ignorant and privileged and wrong. But I am also a U.S. Senator from the great state of North Carolina, and I suddenly saw what my purpose was, not to sit at home or in church and quietly pray for things to change, but to actually do something to stop other families from having to suffer the same tragedy. For as the good book says, a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. So my work begins right now. I believe we must dismantle the systemic racism that this country was founded on. And that begins with restructuring and rebuilding police forces across every state in this country from the ground up to make sure events like this one never happen again. Now, this ain't about getting rid of cops completely or doing anything that'll make our streets unsafe. It's about living without fear, because too many of our fellow citizens are afraid for their lives every day, afraid for their sons to walk home alone at night wearing a hoodie, afraid for their daughters to be pulled over driving a nice car with some friends, afraid for their lives to be taken simply because some white person deems them to be less than. Now, people say the system is broken. Our entire criminal justice system is broken. But now I see the system isn't broken. It was designed to work this way, designed to work exactly how the people in power want it to work, to keep them in power. It's a literal race where one group gets a Ferrari and everyone else is forced to chase them on foot. Now, this is supposed to be a country where all men are created equal, where we are all endowed with certain unalienable rights. But liberty and the pursuit of happiness don't mean squat if you're worried about getting choked to death, or shot while you're out jogging, or sleeping in your own home, or doing nothing more than simply existing while the color of your skin happens to not be white. And I know I'm late to the party. I know I'm just another middle-aged white man finally waking up to see that racism didn't end after the Civil War or after the Civil Rights Act passed. It continues in plain sight. Only most of us are too blind, too busy, or too fragile to see, to really see what's happening to our friends and neighbors in the African American community. Now, I can't begin to understand their pain and their anger. To witness men and women sworn to protect and serve, kill their brothers and sisters time and time again, and not be held accountable, not get fired, not get disciplined or sent to jail. And to see their white friends and politicians like me do nothing about it. To see us stay silent and privileged and apathetic. But not anymore. Because turning a blind eye and praying for this to go away isn't the answer. Staying quiet out of respect for the victims of this kind of brutality isn't the answer. You think the families of Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Philando Castile, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Alton Sterling, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd would rather we sat on our hands another 10 years and let thousands of people die out of respect? No. They want change. And I need you to help make that change, to speak out with your vote. And that, my friends, just might return this country to where it was meant to be, to what it's supposed to be, a place where men and women of all colors are created equal. Now, if this speech costs me some votes, ruins my hopes of re-election, gets me laughed out of politics altogether, it won't matter. As long as I was fighting to make this state better, make this country better, make our lives better. But if I continue to say nothing and do nothing, then I won't be able to live with myself. And you shouldn't either. Apathy is a 4-letter word. Everyone in this country can affect change. Every soul can make a difference. It just takes a little courage, a little caring, and a whole lot of follow-through. So this November, I ask that you vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Otherwise, we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the past, mistakes that me and other members of my party have been allowing and even promoting for far too long, talking about Jim Crow laws, segregated schools, redlining, gerrymandering, rampant voter suppression, all designed to keep minority voters feeling hopeless and scared, powerless and unengaged. But your vote can send a message saying you won't tolerate this injustice anymore. Your vote give the power back to the people of this country, not the politicians. Your vote can change America for the better. Now, earlier I promised not to take up too much of your time, but I've been speaking now for just over 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's how long George Floyd couldn't breathe. That's how long he had to think about his death. That's how long it took the rest of us to see that our humanity is broken. 400 years, plus 8 minutes and 46 seconds.